So officially, welcome to yet again another online learning Q&A session. My name is James Medway. I'm the principal of LSK Elementary School, and with us tonight again is Mrs. Shauna, our curriculum lead as well. Tonight.
Good evening.
Oh yes, good evening. Yeah, sorry, Mrs. Shauna, I didn't see you joined yet.
No problem.
You scared me. Sorry about that. Great. So yes, welcome everyone. Tonight, the main focus of this session is all about asking your questions and making sure we get you some answers. To get started, though, we wanted to say thank you. Hopefully, you haven't felt too much like this picture here, and you're all kind of beat down like Dawson's kind of looking. We understand it's been a pretty heavy week. We've asked a lot of you. So as we've kind of done in the past, same with tonight, we wanted to take a quick moment and say sincerely, thank you so much. We know how much of an uphill battle this is, and you guys have been great. We appreciate all the questions that you've already asked us leading up to this point, and overall your general commitment to make this happen. Really, at the end of the day, in order for this to be successful, it's going to take a whole community effort. Teachers, support staff, but also importantly, parents and guardians and students. So thank you so far for all the questions that you've asked us. Please have your questions ready for tonight. We hope to field as many as possible to help with this, again, whole transition. And lastly, I just want to transition to, although for some folks this last week, you might have had some stress with Dawson, I do want to assure you that we do in fact have this. And to best communicate that, I thought it'd be fitting tonight to kick things off with kind of a bit of an image of a mountain here. So I've been saying this internally to a few staff members who are also feeling a bit of stress with this whole learning curve to really put where we are right now in perspective. So bear with me for a moment while I do a couple annotations on the screen and share with you what I'm describing. As we started this journey, for us a few weeks back, but for you guys starting on Monday, we really have been climbing uphill here. And I just want to let folks that are tuning in tonight know that right about now in our difficulty curve, we are this little stick figure that's at the top of this mountain. And I'm sharing this with you because everything you've seen this week is it. Everything you've been exposed to, whether it's accessing content, looking at your course schedule, hopping in a Zoom meeting, that's it. These are the essential tools that we're going to be really focusing on as a school. And so with that being said, we want to let you know that you really have climbed the top of the mountain. It's our hope to live here not too long. We anticipate probably about 1 to 2 more weeks of getting familiar with all these curves. And then after that point, we can start heading back down the hill to a much more manageable amount of learning to expect each day. But if you are joining us tonight, we are planting our flag like we see at the top here because it's not going to get more difficult than it currently is. And I just want to reassure folks of that before we even get to some questions tonight. Okay, that being said, let's get into our agenda. It's really simple. What I've done first is I've collected some very common, frequently asked questions. So these are the questions that myself and Mrs. Shauna have been really getting a lot of questions with this last week. My hope is to showcase to you right out of the gate some demos associated with those questions. And then afterwards, as promised, the majority of the session will be open up to everyone attending to ask any questions you may have related to this online learning experience. So if I don't answer your question in some of these preliminary demos here, that's your chance to ask it shortly afterwards. This is also where I'll just give you a reminder of some housekeeping items. Inside the Zoom session, there is the Q&A available inside the very bottom part of the Zoom screen. So if when you see some of these workflows in the next little while, something I show you prompted you to think of something and you'd rather just ask it ahead of time, you can totally ask any of your questions throughout the session. We'll make sure that we facilitate them all at the end, similar to how we've done it the last couple sessions. But with that being said, let's get into some of the bigger FAQs that we've seen so far as a school. So one of the first big questions that came up right out of the gate this week was regarding how do we actually access the school virtual assembly? And there was a little curveball associated with this, which we think might have thrown off a few folks. It's really important for us to make sure that we get in as many people as possible to the school virtual assembly. So we're going to start off tonight by showing you this workflow. So I'm going to begin by just taking down the screen, and I'm going to showcase to you exactly how to access the assembly. As a student, it's very straightforward. All you have to do is come on in, and then you'll see here on the main page of D2L, there's a link that simply says Zoom. Now, the curveball for accessing the assembly was what actually happens when you click this link. When you select this, it's going to prompt you to log in with a username and an email address. And we understand that a lot of students don't have email address, rightfully so. They're elementary school students. We've been on the phone with Zoom to try to see if we can bypass this login area. And unfortunately, it's something that they've said does have to stay the way it is. So as you prepare to enter the school virtual assembly next week, we're going to ask two things. To access the virtual school assembly, just come in like you see me do here and click the link. And then once it asks you to then log into the assembly, log in by entering in a username. So either your first name and last name or your student's first name, last name. It could really be, however you want to identify yourself, assuming, of course, it's school appropriate. And then also an email address. So if you're logging in with your son or daughter or your child, please just enter in any sort of email address. If you don't have one, you can even include the @ symbol in there and just simply make it up. It's just a way for Zoom to keep track of who's entering the meeting because we're opening up to the public. Okay, so I hope that that first demo has put to rest that issue, and we really hope to see as many people as possible in school assembly for this Monday. We're hoping that this one definitely goes on without a hitch. Heading back to the FAQs, the next thing that I'm going to quickly address is accessing Zoom sessions and recordings. So this has been probably one of the most popular questions this week. So I'll start with giving you a bit of context. We really worked hard as a staff to try to have as much of the platform set up and ready to go for you for this week. But with technology, as you can imagine, sometimes things don't always go exactly as anticipated. Zoom was kind of an example of that one for us. So although we had it set up and working, there were definitely a couple complications that we quickly noticed throughout this week. What we've done is made a couple small adjustments, which we're hoping to showcase to you now, which will make this Zoom session, synchronous sessions, more easy to access. And then I'll also comment briefly on where you can go to find the recordings. So in your course, which we access by going up top here and then going to course selector, you may have seen throughout the course of this week a Zoom link up along the top here. And a lot of people's first inclination when you go to access Zoom is to obviously click the Zoom link. This may not have worked for some folks. After much troubleshooting to make sure that we streamline this process as much as possible, I'm going to go back to what was mentioned during the school assembly this week. And that is, we want you to become familiar with accessing the Zoom sessions directly inside the calendar. So as I scroll down here, you'll see that there's always going to be, regardless of whatever class you're in, a calendar on the left-hand side of the page. And this is where you'll then see the links that are coming up. So for instance, we've been using Mrs. Salt's class as a demo for a while. If you were in this class, you'd be able to come in and see that your first session is at 9:30 a.m. You simply select this here, and then from here, you would select the link to join, and that's it. So you'll notice that the Zoom link has actually been removed from all course navbars. To make this as easy as possible for you, this will be our workflow moving forward. Simply come into the course, select the calendar, just like you saw me do, click the link, open it up, and then just like that, you're in the meeting. So we really hope that this helps to keep down the level of confusion associated with Zoom. It'll take a little bit of getting used to, but in the future, if you're trying to ever find a Zoom session, train yourself to just scroll down, look for the calendar, and click the Zoom area like you saw me do a second ago. Now, the second component of this is where do you go to find the recordings? Great question. This was something that we had planned to have made available inside the link up in the navbar here. But again, due to some technical issues here, and also with us being mindful of trying to make this as easy as a process as possible, we thought it made most sense to include those recordings in the future directly inside the calendar. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to use your imagination a little bit here for a second. What you'll see moving forward is the Zoom sessions will be still available in the calendar like you see here, but then right underneath this section, you'll also see something like Zoom recording. My apologies for my bad writing. Hope you get the idea. And then you'll see a link right underneath that, which has the recording for that day. And our hope here is to keep this as easy as possible so that if you're ever looking for a certain Zoom recording per day, instead of us sharing that link somewhere else, you can always go back to the calendar, select the previous day, and then find that link. So for instance, if you wanted to watch that Zoom session on the 21st, you could always click back on that day and see that information also inside the calendar, just like that. So it's really our hope over time to train everyone to look to the calendar when you're looking for Zoom. I'm going to show you two more quick workflows, and then we're going to open up the floor for some questions. So moving right along our list here, the next one was uploading evidence. Our goal as a school is to try to have every student by the end of next week submit some sort of picture or video to Portfolio. We're really excited to see that not only has just about every student in the school logged in, which is huge, we're already a little bit ahead of schedule, which is great, but many people have even gotten ahead of schedule and they've started to upload evidence already to Portfolio. If you haven't done this, don't panic. Again, we're really trying to have this hopefully done for next week, which has us lots of time to really familiarize ourselves with this workflow. So some people have been able to use the application on their iPads. So for instance, when you have your iPad open, you'll see a small leaf icon. You can click on that and then follow the steps to submit evidence. If you'd like to try that workflow, I just want to point out that on the main page here, I'll scroll down a little bit. There is a section right here with those videos. These two videos are really going to help you to become familiar with submitting items to Portfolio. This one here and this one here. Start by watching these videos. If you've already watched those and you've submitted using the app, fantastic. But you might be running into a situation, which some students are right now, with not knowing exactly how do I submit evidence that might be a file that I've already created on my iPad. So maybe you've taken a picture of something and it's already saved, or you have done a screenshot of a file that you're working on with your teacher, you have annotations on it and other materials, and then you just want to upload that file. How do you do it? I want to point out that workflow by going up to the top of the screen. Each student can also submit to their portfolio by simply uploading files they have saved on their iPad by going like this. They head up to the right-hand corner of the screen, and they can see an area here called My Portfolio. If you didn't notice this before, this is where you're going to go to upload any sort of materials that you might have related to evidence of your learning. So I'll come in and I'll click My Portfolio, and then I'll just show you as the sample student here what you do next. As soon as the page loads, you'll then be able to see evidence of your learning. So in this case, all I would do is click on a sample course. Here's a test sample course. You would see your grade. Here we see our teachers learning a bit in the past. But the more important thing is if you need to upload something that you have saved to your iPad, it's a simple matter of selecting this big blue shiny button right here, and then from here, uploading whatever file you have saved. So it looks like this. Add a portfolio. You can drag and drop it, or simply click the browse link right here. This will allow you to select the file you have saved, and just like that, you've submitted to Portfolio. Okay, we really hope that one finds you well and is helpful. Again, if you haven't submitted to Portfolio yet, please don't panic. We're building in lots of time to familiarize ourselves with this process. So start practicing now if you haven't. If you've already started practicing, if you haven't got it in, keep trying. And if you got it in, congratulations to you, you're already ahead of the game. I'm going to show you one more common workflow, and then we're going to open up the floor for some questions. The last workflow is just taking advantage of teachers' office hours. Behind the scenes at the school, it's been great to see so many of our educational assistants working with parents and guardians to help them get familiar with these different workflows. Teachers, especially during their classes, also have office hours dedicated to help you get answers to the questions that you may have. Please use these support channels. So I'll just point out, going to a sample course again, that each person's schedule is posted directly inside their course. So starting from the top here, if I go to a course, as soon as I access that course, on the right-hand side, you will see that schedule. So here is Mrs. Salt's. And again, if you want to make it a little bigger, you can also select this here again. What you might want to do is take a quick look at where those office hours are. So in this case, I can see her office hours are scheduled every day from 12 to 12:30. Please keep collecting your questions like you may have accumulating at home. And during those openings, whenever your teacher's office hours are, again, schedules may vary slightly based upon class. Then, inside your course, head on down to the calendar, because we know that's where we go to access Zoom. Simply click the link, and then boom, head on into that office hour session and get those questions answered there. We really do know that there's a lot of questions out there, and we want to make sure that we address them most efficiently as possible. So to prevent us getting in a situation where we're sending out 10 emails to answer the same question, it's most helpful for us to deal with everyone's questions through this channel. So please, if questions do come up, let us know, and let us know in those office hours. Okay, taking a step back, those were the biggest frequently asked questions that we've seen from our perspective this week, but we fully understand that there's probably many, many more out there. So it's at this point in time where we're going to start fielding some questions. If you had questions that you've already submitted, great. If that prompts you to think of even more questions, even better, but ask those questions now. Just like last session, myself and Catherine will do our best to field all the questions that come up in the next little while.
Thank you, James, for showing us those workflows. I'm noticing that we do not have any current questions on our question and answer board. So maybe we could just give that a couple of minutes, and if anybody who is online has anything that they would like to ask or would like more clarification about, we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that.
Perfect, sounds good. Oh, while we're waiting, Mrs. Shauna, this is where I always like to kind of say to myself, well, I mean, we must have demonstrated it so clearly and perfectly that there couldn't possibly be any questions left. But just as I say that, I see our Q&A blows up, which is great. Mrs. Shauna, if you don't mind, can you start us off with our first question?
I sure can. The first question is, just the FYI, the Zoom link on your website is different than the Facebook page. I'm just coming in now.
Oh, that's really helpful to know. That might also explain why we do have a bit of a smaller group tonight. If in the event that's the case, I will just assure folks that are in it that this session is again being recorded. So if in the event some folks can't get in and they were sent the wrong link, they can always hop in afterwards and see the recording, which should be sent out tomorrow. But thanks for that detail. That's really helpful to know. I'm not sure how exactly that may have happened.
So I think possibly because of that, James, I think we probably will not have very many questions tonight. So, but I think the video is helpful and can be posted. Oh, and here's it says it was difficult to find my way here. I ended up having to use the flyer that was sent out to the community to get here. I could not see an easy way here.
Okay, that's good to know too. Moving forward, we'll really try to see if we can push these links on as many channels as possible, and hopefully we can streamline this a little bit better so folks can find their way here, because that's what we want. We want to have as big of an audience as possible.
I do have a suggestion, Mr. Medway. I know that when I was looking for the link, I logged into Brightspace and went to our LSK homepage to see if that link would be posted there as kind of like an upcoming Q&A tonight, and I wasn't able to find it there. So that I don't know if it was posted there or not, but that might be a place that we could fit for easy access.
Yeah, I think that might be a pretty good idea. Just like we have the school virtual assembly, maybe we can have an area dedicated to these as well.
Okay, I think that will be all of our questions for tonight.
Yeah, those folks that are joining us, my apologies if you had some trouble getting in. We'll make sure that we get this video out tomorrow. I hope at the very least some of these workflows that we did showcase helps you kind of refine some of those common issues that we're seeing on our All right, and with that being said, I think we're going to wrap up there. Everyone who was able to attend, thank you for coming in. Mrs. Shauna, always a pleasure. We'll keep tonight nice and brief.
Mr. Medway, if you're still available, we just have one other question that kind of came in.
Yeah, sure. Let's tackle it.
Yes, it says, yes, very confusing tonight regarding the links. The website used the link perhaps from a previous meeting, so I had to search around on the Facebook page to find the correct one. Where are the videos posted?
Yeah, good question. On our end, as soon as we finish up a Zoom recording, we send it to the communications team, and from there, we then encourage them to post it on the social media channels. What that means to them is something that, truthfully, I have to become a little bit more familiar with myself, but that's usually how we sent out the recording in the past to make available to everyone else. Something else for us to look into.
So will the recordings be posted on the LSK webpage or the Brightspace homepage?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I was planning to have it posted out to the social media channels again, and part of that is intentional. The reason why we've been putting these links in the areas that they're in is because we did want to make this available to the whole community, whereas the school assembly, we wanted to try to make available to just students and immediate family, especially as we recognize some students and things like that. This video in particular will be shared out on those social media channels.
Okay, thank you.
And just when I think we're about to wrap up, there's another really good question that was just asked, and that was, are the internet issues resolved at LSK? To my understanding, yes. I've been working directly with Jim Varga. He was able to come out right as soon as we noticed it. From his vantage point, he said that there was a small issue with the server, and that was something he was able to fix. At the moment, everything seems to be up and running again. We came in today and had a really good session in the school. So I'm hoping that that's behind us, but at the same time, he is really keeping a close eye on it to make sure that everything we need to have in place is in place, so we don't potentially get in that situation again. I'll also reassure folks that there are contingency plans in place. Luckily with us as an organization, we do have lots of different buildings and facilities within the close proximity to the school. So if in the event something like that does unfortunately occur again, we'll do our best to notify you as soon as possible. But we also have alternative measures set up so that teachers can still deliver their lessons even if something like this happens again in a short period of time.
We have another question. Has the school calendar been updated? And they're looking for information on closures, for example, like Christmas break.
Yeah, really good question. I believe it's very close to being finalized. Just before I share it out with the public, it's something that I want to make sure our Director of Education gives the official sign-off on. Once I have that, I'll make sure that it gets out. As you can imagine, these last few weeks especially have been quite the whirlwind to get all this stuff set up. So with us having to make online learning a priority, we have just for a short period of time put aside some of those normal administrative things which you would expect for the year, but we're hoping that now our online program being close to being set up and a lot of the kinks out of the way, we can get that other normal information out to you as soon as possible.
Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in, Mr. Medway.
Okay, so again, folks, my apologies if you had some difficulty with finding the link tonight. We'll talk internally about trying to make it a little bit more easy to access if we decide to have some more of these sessions in the future. That being said, the recording will still be sent out at some point tomorrow, and from there, you'll also be able to see some of those common workflows. We hope that those frequently asked questions that we showcased to you were some of the ones that you were running into, and it just continues to help as we all become more familiar with this new educational model. Again, thanks all for attending, and have yourself a fantastic evening. Thanks, Mr. Shano, as well.
You're welcome. Have a good night.